Hey guys, welcome back to my channel and back to another video. So today I'm going to be doing a new series on my channel called Quick Reactions, where I quickly react to a video that I find online, normally woke and crazy, and I give you guys my authentic reaction. 1, 2, 3, one and done. So without further ado, let's look at this video that I came across this morning. This should be a good one.
I'm going to be real, and I don't give a fuck what anybody say.
Oh.
Black children need to be separated from white children and any other race when it comes to education, because no other race, especially white people, will tell the black person's history truthfully about where they come from, who they are, and what they are. The white person will only suppress the black person's history to maintain their genetic survival, to bring about a news story that doesn't even exist.
I'm shocked. A black supremacist wants segregation. How shocking, said no one ever. What's funny about what he's saying in particular is his argument is you can't have black children being taught by non-black people, specifically white people, because white people are not telling the whole story or the true history of slavery and the transatlantic slave trade. I find that to be incredibly ironic considering the fact that he's right. There are parts of slavery that are not taught in schools, but the parts that aren't taught in schools are the parts that are most important. Like the fact being that the only reason why the transatlantic slave trade was so successful was because of African tribes living in the continent of Africa. Yes, you heard me right. The Europeans would have been unsuccessful in enslaving Africans from the continent of Africa, specifically West Africa, had it not been for West African tribes who were already enslaving other Africans. Wow. And so what happened was the Europeans arrived at the coast. They tried to go mainland into Africa, but many of them got sick and did not survive because their bodies and their immune system was not accustomed to the environment in Africa. The same way that the Native Americans died when the Europeans arrived in South America and in the Caribbean, their bodies could not withstand the diseases of the European people because they were not used to being around those people. Same thing happened to the Europeans when they arrived in Africa. Many of them could not survive on that continent. So many of those boats and the Europeans, they stayed at the coast, which means the Africans who enslaved other Africans had to meet up with the Europeans at the coast and say, hey, want to trade? Got any guns? Got any spices? Got any gold? Jewels? Here you go, take our slaves and we'll take your riches. And that's exactly what happened. That is the only reason why Europeans were able to trade with the African tribes. It was a glorified garage sale. It was, you take my possessions, I'll take your possessions. That's what it was. And newsflash, slavery is not exclusive to African Americans and their ancestors. Slavery has been around since the beginning of time. Every single civilization on every single corner of this globe has dealt with slavery, okay? Has dealt with one people enslaving another people. Most of the time within the same race and same ethnicity, just different groups. I know, another wow moment. So when this individual says that the true history of slavery is not being taught, he's actually correct, because if the true history was being taught, then most people would know in school that the only reason why the transatlantic slave trade was so successful was because of other black people living on the continent of Africa. But that is a part that nobody wants to talk about. You know why? Because it's not convenient, that's why. Because it doesn't make the boogeyman only the white man. Can't have a black boogeyman, can't do that. So instead, let's tell a watered down version that only demonizes European people, and let's just leave it at that because we don't want to, talk too much. So that's the irony, right? He's talking about the true history not being told, and the true history hasn't been told to appease the idea that only white people are responsible for slavery and for the success of the slave trade. He also won't talk about who ended slavery and make sure internationally that it was not successful any longer. White people. I want to encourage you guys to look up a man by the name of Thomas Sowell. He is a black scholar who is dismantling the idea of what slavery is and how it got started and the true history of slavery that isn't being taught in schools, but not because of what this black supremacist is saying on the video, but because of what history actually shows. The reason why it's been watered down is to ensure that only white people look horrible in this story. But the reality is there were bad people on every single corner of the globe, okay? There were Africans who were making loads of money from enslaving their own people and selling their own people to the Europeans. That's the actual truth. But I'm sure that inconvenient truth doesn't really sit well with a black supremacist, so he'll just overlook that and instead over-exaggerate what's being taught in schools. And by the way, slavery and the history of slavery is literally a requirement to be taught in every single school in every single state. So this idea that black history is not being taught, and specifically slavery is not being taught, is just a lie. It's an exaggerated lie created by the race hustlers of the world who want people to be outraged by anything and everything. They know exactly what they're doing. And by the way, there is a difference between teaching about slavery and black history and teaching about critical race theory, which is entirely different. See, slavery is talking about the actual history, given the facts, without an opinion. Critical race theory is trying to indoctrinate people to have a specific opinion and thought process when it comes to white people. That is different. And that is what is being blocked in schools when it comes to elementary, junior high, and high school, because teachers were trying to implement those ideas into the classroom. But the history of slavery is still being taught. Oops. What's really sad is that people like the guy in the video, they want us to go back to the 1960s. They want blacks only, whites only, Hispanics only, Asians only. They want everyone to be separated because they don't believe in interbreeding or having people within different racial groups coming together, uniting, talking, dating, loving, being a community. That is like, no, absolutely not. I don't know anything more racist and prejudiced than that type of mindset. In 2024, we should not have all black churches, all black colleges, all black neighborhoods. Why? What is wrong with us? Why are we still choosing to segregate ourselves from other communities and then wondering why we just can't unite? If you're not exposed to other cultures, you're not going to understand the other cultures. And how we're currently operating is not helping. Having people like that advocating for separate schools for just black kids, imagine what MLK will be thinking right now in his grave if he knew that 60 years in the future, black people who are now more free than he ever was are advocating for segregation. Let me know in the comments down below what you think of this quick reaction. What are your thoughts and opinions on segregation and on the ideas of that individual who wants people to be separate? If you enjoy my content, please do not forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Don't forget to hit my notification bell so you know when I post a brand new video. Until next time, peace.